It's helpful. Yeah, it's helpful if you do have the some hand weights for the class at noon. Um, because yeah, I offer that option a lot. Is we're going to do a little bit of arms, or we're going to use some weights when we do some squatting or something like that, right? So I usually use my step for part of the class, and then yeah, with some weights, I'll even do the step and have some weights in my hands as well. So because it just really depends where everybody is at, right, with their heart rate every day. And if you want to try to be at a certain level, adding a little resistance, meaning weight, right, helps keep you there. So I usually do have some weight things, or we'll do probably in the next few weeks, we'll be doing a lot more with the TheraBand because I'm traveling. So we'll be doing classes and I'll be probably trying to do all my resistance with the TheraBand. So it'll be a little different unless I find some weights where I am. So yeah. All
Well,
right. So
thank you.
let's,
I don't have
yeah.
my weights with me or my TheraBand with me because I'm traveling this week too, but I'll definitely check that out in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. Let's come, well, let's start up on our feet actually. And I was gonna ask if everybody had a band, but we don't need it. So I'm not gonna, I don't need to use that today at all. But let's just start on our feet to see where we're at. And take a breath in and a breath out. And spreading the toes apart. I had a walk this morning, so I still have my socks on, don't need them, but I'm less sticky when I don't have my socks on, the sticky mat. Well, it feels good to feel the feet and then softening the knees a little bit. And then I'm just going to turn to the side so I'm on my mat, but you're going to take a little step forward. And we're just going to push off the back foot and come back down. Push off and come back down. And you might kind of notice or set your attention into your heel back there and see if you can kind of stick with where's my heel and then let it land all the way and then peel it off again and feel the ball of your foot and the heel lift. A little bend in my front knee. I'm staying pretty straight with that back leg. And then stay forward, like the weight forward here, and bend this knee just a little bit further. And then reach that heel back without kind of taking the whole body back. See if you can just reach your leg long, long, long back into that heel. And it might not come all the way to the floor. Just see about noticing that. As you continue, this front knee continues a little bit forward. It's very micro movement, and the back heel continues back and down. Nice deep breath. And then soften a little bit, draw that knee back, the front one, and let's bend and straighten this knee, this back knee now. So a little different than what we did before. We were rocking on the feet, the weight, and now my weight is pretty steady, but I'm moving that back leg. And then go ahead and ground the back heel again. And bring your hands to your belly here. So right in the front, you have your pelvic crest and that lower belly. And if you've been taking class with Megan, she's probably talked about your pelvic clock and these muscles down low here, the transverse abdominis. And we want to lift a little bit right below the belly button. And then go ahead and reach back through that heel and take your front knee forward again a little bit. Breath, head nice and tall. And then let's go ahead and straighten both legs and step forward. And just notice then side to side before we continue. How do both of your feet feel? Maybe each leg. Good. So any questions about what we did so far, how that progression worked? And it might be a little bit different this time as we progress, but I'm going to do the other side so I can feel that I'm already starting to feel more equal, but obviously one side got the attention and the other side didn't. So take that other foot forward. And we'll do it a little bit different. We'll just kind of swap how we did that other one. So we're going to start with this bend and straighten business first. So just for fun, knee bends. I'm keeping the weight pretty equally distributed here. Well, most of my weight is in the front, freeing up this back leg to move. Maybe you notice where your pelvis is with that tailbone in mind, right? Is it tucking, or does it have some freedom here to be neutral? And the leg is just doing the moving, right? We're not rocking the pelvis at all. Good, and then take that leg back. And then now we'll take that heel up and transfer the weight a little bit. So heel up, drop the shoulders or relax the shoulders if there's any tension there. And I'm thinking about that heel again back there, just kind of interest, area of interest. Soft knee up here, letting the weight transfer. Nice broad ball of the foot here, and then that heel lifts and lowers. And then go ahead and stay with the weight forward, the heel lifted in the back, that front knee bending just a little more if it can, shin forward, and then slowly reaching, again, without just kind of coming straight down. Can we take that slowly reaching the legs opposite direction? So front knee forward, back knee back, belly lifting a little bit to keep that pelvis kind of in a neutral position. Breath in, breath out. If you wanted to here, you could take your arms up or out in front. Either place is kind of interesting to take the hands. And then let's go ahead and step forward and then see how that feels. Good. All right, so a little bit of footwork, a little bit of belly turning on already. If you have the balance, let's go ahead and take a heel forward. You can always have your hand on the back of a chair. I didn't spin mine around here. Or keep your hands at your waist. And let's just work a little bit more with the foot, reaching out, ball of the foot, coming down and lifting. Ball of the foot coming down and lifting. And as your foot comes down, think about rounding a little bit in the middle of your foot. It's kind of funny because we're actually reaching the ball of the foot down and you kind of spread out the toes, but we're also keeping that arch in mind, keeping a little bit of that rounded, as though we're going to put a foot over a tennis ball. And spreading the feet out. Go ahead and lift the heel up this time. I'll turn to the side. So I'm going to go down, lift the heel up, reach it back down, peel the toes and ball the foot up. Reach the ball of the foot down, lift, and back. And one more. And how's your standing foot? That finds always some nice work, doesn't it? So let's bring the feet back under you. And we'll try that on the other side. So we just started with 4 or 5 of kind of a nice reach out with a foot. I don't know about you, but this feels nice on my busy feet. Been out walking. Get a nice little reach out. The toes are reaching nice and broad. And then we came down to the ball of the foot, lifted the heel, reach the heel back down, lift the toes, the ball of the foot. Ball of the foot plants, toes find the floor, lift, back down and up. So as you said, we can get, you know, a lot of really nice stuff, even in the slower movements, we get like all of that musculature happening in the foot. So maybe you feel that as you really reach outward and reach outward in all directions, right, with the feet. So back underneath you, and we'll take the heels together. So more Pilates V, but same kind of feet in that. Heels are together. And let's get a little different orientation. We did very straight on with our first activity. And now we're turning legs out. We're just going to get that nice different orientation for feet, ankles, knees, hips. Knees go right along with the middle toes. They kind of track with the middle toes. And I like doing little pieces of our Pilates footwork here at a time. I've been playing around a lot with that recently. So let's come down and just find a little bounce there. I'm still really high up. Didn't come into a full squat or anything, but I like getting a little warmed up in the legs. Good. And then come to a nice little bend and lift your heels. See if you can keep the heels together. Straighten up and then let them come down. So it'll be bend, lift the heels, straighten, and come down. Bend, lift, straighten, and come down. Bend, lift, straighten, and come down. Now we'll go straight up a couple of times. So heels are together, lifting those balls of the feet, toes still nice and spread out. And if you want to work harder, it's simply that pushing the heels together action, like really keeping them together, that could really up your ante. And the higher you go, a little bit harder it is, right? Or sometimes it's that in between place. So just being able to do it smoothly is another like measure of we can up the ante without really making it look any different, right? Couple more. Where are you feeling this movement as we continue? Calves, back of the legs, sides. Come on up and pause. And then bend the knees. Reach the heels to the floor without straightening the knees, and then straighten. We'll go up, bend the knees, reach the heels down, and straighten. Come up, bend the knees, reach the heels down, and straighten. Come up, bend, heels reach. That's really good for that lower leg, and then straighten. And we'll come back to parallel. Good. So let's take that into a roll down. Let's take the spine into it a little bit more. Got a lot of nice warm up from kind of my belly button downward. Let's bring the upper body into it a little more. Chin toward the chest. And then rolling down, letting things get nice and rounded. And as you tip over, things getting heavier. And then coming back up. Just going to feel the belly helping me out a little bit to haul the arms all the way up. Breath. And let's do that again. Roll down, chin toward the chest. And the head gets so heavy that we have to start supporting from the belly here, from the ribs. Ribs pull in. All the way down. Or maybe not all the way down. Maybe you come up a little bit. So if you've got long arms like I do, you want to be able to be free of the floor. So let's do some circling here, some nice passive shoulder circles. And let them be nice and easy with a good breath. Couple breaths. Going one direction and then let's go the other way. And then come to stationary with the arms kind of centered and pull yourself back up again. All right, and then let's find our way all the way down to the floor. And then in seated, I'm gonna bring our feet back into our attention a little bit, those heels, and just seeing your feet on the floor here and noticing how they were when you were standing. And we'll have that soft flex in the foot, right? So the spread of the toes, maybe you can even find a little bit, we talk about sometimes with the fingers in some of the yoga I teach, kind of doing, almost feeling like you're doing a little bit of a clawing or a grabbing. And I don't want you to add tension to your toes, but it's also nice to make sure that they can be active too. So can they be active here? A little bit of active toes without scrunching up. So it may feel like all you can do is scrunch. Eventually though, maybe you can be a little more nuanced about it. They're still long and yet they're alive, right? Alive and well. Go ahead and bring yourself back. Be careful with that. If you have a tender tailbone, I often have that too. I want to make sure I have enough padding, and I sometimes just have to move around stuff and get back behind it. So I'm a little past any kind of past injury. Pull that belly back. Breath, breath. And go ahead and grab on either the front or the back of the knees. Get nice and wide with your arms. And then let's see if we can work down the legs just a little bit. I guess if I was in the front, I'd have to switch to coming behind the legs. Make sure my head doesn't fall too far forward. And where are my feet in all of this? I'm gonna find my way back up. Feet are still there. And see if you can roll up to sitting bones. So did you lose your feet all the way? Were they getting really light? So that'd be kind of fun to play with this time. Let's do one more like this. Get back behind your sit bones, maybe back behind that tail. And not doing a full roll down, but I'm just kind of testing the waters for my feet. Like what happens when do they get a little bit light? And maybe I could even lift my heels up a little, keeping the ball of the feet and toes there. And then finding my way back up. All right, let's extend one leg out. And then let's come back. Go ahead and use your leg or legs to come back onto the back. And so noticing the body here. Breath. And especially this time of year, if you've been feeling a little bit of busyness, the back body. So when I talk about the back body, the spine is usually toward the back. We think of the spine toward the back. We think of obviously the surface of the back, the low back, the back of the pelvis, the sacrum, the tail. All of that has support here. Well, notice where your support is most prevalent for you. Got those spots? Maybe the back of the head. Maybe some of that space around the shoulder blades is really heavy. Maybe somewhere in the low back gets a lot of support from the floor. Maybe the sacrum. And we could get even more nuanced, right? Is it the top part of the sacrum, the middle, the tail? What feels heaviest? And just let that be heavy. We're not going to make any corrections right now. Just going to let that floor support us. You might even relax your jaw a little bit. And as you're ready, go ahead and bring the hands together into interlacing the fingers, and then lift the head, sliding the hands underneath. And let the head and hands rest on the floor as well. And then the elbows, I'm going to bring them from way out to the side and also not way up toward my ears, right in the middle. I find that where my heart space can be broad, or my chest can be wide, and my back will be also wide in this space with my arms. And then let's lift the head just off the mat. Feel the heaviness of your head. And then we're going to start to peel the spine away, that upper spine coming away as your shoulders lift. And notice how your spine, if you can, if there's space for this, like where it starts getting heavier again. So it changes a little bit as you take this shoulders, upper shoulders off, right? You're going to feel a little more spine on the floor. And that feels kind of nice if we can tune into it. And up into your mini crunch. Taking a breath or two here. And what do you notice, if you can, in your lower body? As you come down, just notice if there is anything in the sacrum that happened as you came up or as you released, anything in the feet or legs. Enjoy that support of the floor again. And then we'll take a breath in and exhale, lift. And now maybe you have that attention not only on what might be most grounded in the upper back, but you might notice what's going on in the pelvis or the feet or the legs. Is there anything grabbing, gripping? Continue to work those ribs down and in. Continue to lift the shoulders and shoulder blades away. 3, 2, 1, and lowering down. Support from the floor. This time, let's let the elbows rest outward, or you could take your hands away for a moment. We'll probably come back to a little bit of mini crunch combination, but let's work with the legs a little bit here, and just to lift the legs off the floor. So noticing again, where does your back like to feel the floor? As soon as I start to think about lifting a leg, belly gets nice and tight. And I also feel, a little bit of, I also might feel right, even my low back kind of pressing down to help lift that leg up. So go ahead and lift that leg up, let the leg come in, and then let it come down. Now we were kind of talking about the heels earlier. I'm not shifting where my heel is in relationship to my femur as I do this. I'm just going to let it dangle. And again, both feet on the floor, relax everything. And to me, it's just such a cool thing to be aware of, just preparing to lift my leg. Prepare to lift, it lifts, bring that leg in, low back, it's a nice little push into the floor, feels nice. And then that foot comes back and then everything lets go. Again, belly works. Maybe I can feel my low back a little bit helping out, or pressing into the floor may not be helping. Good. One more like that. Just working nicely with the hip joint in conjunction with the belly. And let the legs come down. Good. So what happens when we balance both knees right over the hips? So ideally, we're not gripping too much in the thighs. If it is today, that's okay. It's just somewhere you might be headed to soften the thighs, use the belly. And I lifted my heels up now a little more even with my knees. Hands back to my head. And I'm going to see if I can add in here that mini crunch. And I'm still aware of the back body a little bit. What's going on back there? Where do I feel the most heaviness or pressing into the floor, and it's sacrum, and for me, and kind of middle of the back as I come up. Legs are starting to want to work a little bit. Continue to work my belly. Let's bring the legs in just a little and then press out. They don't have to go out all the way. Just give a little movement here and press out. And if this is a little too much, just let them be stationary or drop the shins or even bring the feet back. But otherwise, maybe we've got 2 more of these little pushes out and back in, push out and back in. Feet come down, upper body comes back. Take the hands out and let the floor support you. Do you feel some warmth come in? The longer we hold that crunch, right? We start to feel, and then we added more movement besides. Nice breath in. Nice support of the floor. All right, so let's add in a little bit of tree here. And with tree, we're going to think about our heel a little bit here. And you might think about your inner heel just a little more than like the whole of your heel. And then go ahead and grab onto the back of the leg. So that one leg is nice and long. The other leg, we're grabbing onto the back. You can interlace the fingers, or sometimes we'll stack the hands. So one hand is above the other one on the leg there. I'll tell you, one of them is a little bit harder, but I'm not going to tell you which one. You try it. So I'm going to use that nice strength we had with the upper body here to come up, and then start to use my leg. And in connection with the leg, the femur, I'm going to also be thinking, especially as I come up, of that heel, middle of inside heel, kind of reaching out toward the floor. Come up. Got that nice rounded spine, and that just as smoothly working our way back. Come up, reach out, and finding the foot connection here, and back. All right, next time you come down, go ahead and let that leg go. Let your upper body rest. And stretch that leg out. And then let's go ahead and take the hands to the other leg. And then lifting the upper body. Testing out this side. Reaching out, pressing out with the heel. And back. You can go slower, you can go quicker. If you like to take your foot upward, that's another way to work here. And coming down, bringing the feet underneath you, or underneath the knees, excuse me. And feeling your support of the floor again. Good. And then let's bring the knees up over the hips like we've had them already. And we're going to do a little bit of more hip work here and leg work. And again, we'll just kind of see if we can come at this a little bit from the point of view of our heels, our feet. Even though the work is in the hip joints, and our belly is certainly working as we alternate out and in. Just gonna bring a little more awareness to my foot, the ball of the foot, the heel. This is kind of a nice place to rest my attention. And then let's bring the legs down. And notice your back melt into the floor. Good. And then let's bring the feet up and heels to Pilates V. And this one's kind of fun because we can really work with the feet a little bit. As you draw your legs in, draw your toes back toward you a little bit. Not so much that you're, stressing your front of your legs out or anything, but that they can be like that. And then when you reach out, go ahead and straighten the toes, nice ballerina toes, and come back and reach and come back. And I'm getting that Pilates V turn out with the knees, turn out with the feet. And if I want to up the ante, I'm going to simply drop the legs a little bit. I'm going to see if I can do it a little more parallel to the floor. That's definitely harder. So up toward the ceiling, not quite as hard. Get the choreography there. Good. All right, and then bring the feet down. And checking in here with your body again, letting things melt in. It feels really nice to let that back body be a little bit of our practice. The heels and feet be a little part of that practice. And then let's go ahead and use a little bit of momentum here to lift ourselves all the way up to seated. And I'm going to take the feet a little wide, a little wider than my mat. And if you need to, you can sit up on something that can help. Or if there's a lot of pull in the legs, you could also give yourself a little bend in the knees, finding the heels pressing down a little bit. So those are options. If the legs feel fine, straightened out, you feel like you can sit up fairly tall to start. Go ahead and find a breath. All right. And then really probably some of my favorite work in the Pilates repertoire is to work with spine stretch. Didn't know that it was going to be like that. So I'm going to take that belly back. It's so counter to most of what we do in yoga, but it feels so nice once we get that. So remember how we tipped back and we kind of found the right spot behind the tail earlier? And this one's a little bothering me there. I have to kind of adjust to find the right tip, because as I pull my belly back to round, I'm certainly coming back off sit bones. So if you're feeling that same thing, find just the right spot. And then we'll add the arms, and we're going to adjust that in just a moment so it'll feel different. So belly pulls back, I'm exaggerating that, but now I'm going to start to reach with the arms and even reach with the crown of my head. And now that balance isn't back there behind my sit bones so much anymore, but I continue to work against my hands reaching out. And then inhale and come back up, drop the arms. Good. So how does that feel? Just how is that working for you to kind of adjust what's going on with your sitting bones? It's kind of fun to see where that goes. So let's do that again. Belly pulls back. I'm almost tucking a little bit into my tail. I would say I am to get here, but then I know that as I reach out, get nice and tall with my stretch forward. I adjust. And coming back up, inhale and exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Coming to seated. All right, bring the feet back in. I'm going to bring them a little bit closer to me. And again, this is one where I want to find just the right spot. If I've had some tail issues, which I have, and I'm going to come back behind my sitting bones because there's a just right spot I've found where I can round the spine, I can train the belly, and I can start to work with taking the feet off a little bit. So we're going to come from those toes and ball of the foot down to lifting the heels. And then lifting a foot up and coming back down. That whole foot can come up. And then that whole foot can come back down. And they're still pretty light in front, aren't they? But you can find that nice, steady belly working for you. And if you want, you can get a little longer with your time off the mat with that foot. Reaching up. And if we wanted to, we could take the hands behind the legs, turn the feet out just a little bit in that Pilates V, lift and down, lift and down, lift and down, lift and down. And then roll up, and let's give ourselves a little break. So rolling right up towards sit bones. Releasing the belly, maybe the hip flexors need a little vacation, mini vacation. All right, and then take the feet out. Let's go back to a version of that spine stretch, but we're going to add a little twist. We need a little twisting in our day. So let's take the hands out front. You can imagine you have a Pilates ring between your hands. It's kind of nice to give us a little bit, or even a belt or strap, right? To pull on, but something out in front to give us this elegant spine. And let's take that spine a little bit toward your one leg and back to center, and a little toward the other leg and back to center. And I'm doing a little pulse here and back to center and back to center. Legs and feet aren't moving. So if you're trying to go way over here and things get shifting in the pelvis, you've gone too far, right? I'm not going that far. And I'm keeping really steady in the legs. So then it ends up working my belly, right? And back to center. Good. So let's take that twist. And now I'm going to reach opposite arm out toward that foot. But my goal isn't the foot. My goal is to pull back with my belly, just like I did earlier, that shifting we did of taking the spine way back. And then this backhand can go back behind us. So you've probably done saw. Arms out. Exhale. Arms out. Inhale. Exhale. All right. Let's come all the way over. Bring yourself back to center here. And then let's come to hands and knees. We haven't done much on our front side. We've got our standing side a little bit. We got our core and all of our hip stuff in. Feels really nice and connected. Let's come to hands and knees. We get the hands connected now. And we get to feel the fingers. Remember how I talked about a little bit of the clawing even. So spreading the fingers out, not uncomfortably spread, but enough that there's space between each one. And then pressing the knuckles down. And then finding even the pads of your fingers. Just noticing, just like our feet, there's so much connection, so much real estate here to explore. And the more you find the fingertips, the thumb, the other fingers, the knuckles, I think the less you'll feel so much weight in your wrists, or uncomfortably so, right? I mean, we build up the ability to be in planks and things like that from doing the work, but there are also little nuances that I have been cultivating, over the years to find like, oh, when I do that, I have a little more aliveness in my hands and less into the wrists. Good. So that said, let's go ahead and take the weight off of the hands, turn them upward, palms upward, and just wave your fingers. Let the breath be there. And then let's come back. Let's come back to the hands there. Under the shoulders. Getting nice and broad in the upper back. The elbows, I like to really cue into the elbows a little bit too, as though the elbows are going to point outward, like you're going to go into a push up, but you don't quite do it, right? You're just making just a little bit of adjustment, like you were going to go down into a push up. So you could do that once so you know which way I mean with your elbows. So just a little bit. And notice how that broadens the chest, broadens the back. And then let's take one foot back behind you, straightening the leg, and reach that heel back behind you. Don't let your head drop too much. It tends to do that. See if it can come back up in line with the body. We'll bring that knee back down. Take the other foot back, reach through the heel, get nice and straight with your leg, with your knee. Breath, bring that knee back down. First side, foot comes back. This time we're going to add second side. Heel, both feet back, both heels reaching. Head is in line with the body. Where are those elbows? Just a little bit opening out to the side. 3, 2, 1. Good. We're going to come all the way down to the belly. Go ahead and take the hands out in front and let them relax. And then nose and chin hover. We'll come back to our practice here. The hands are a little wider than my shoulders. And I'm going to see about starting with my legs. So reaching those feet back behind me, nice and parallel. I'm going to reach one leg back so much it comes off the mat just a little bit. The other leg back so much it comes off the mat a little bit. And then the hands too can just come off the floor. And then if you have room in your mind to think of it, get nice and long in the back of your neck, which might mean you kind of tuck your chin just a little bit, and the nose and chin can come up. Don't have to excessively do this, but just a little bit of length back there might be kind of eye-opening. The feet might lift more. The upper body might lift more, your choice. Belly working. Breath. And then come down. Legs come down. You bring the hands in, support your forehead. And then bring your hands right alongside the body. Those nice palms, fingers that we had working. But now the elbows are kind of coming in toward the body. Let them snuggle in. You might feel your upper back get a little more active. Long back of the neck. And we're going to use this to get nice and long, finding tone in the belly. As soon as we start to lift the chest, we really want to find that tone in the belly. So let's notice that nose and chin close to the floor, reaching through the crown of the head, nice and long. If we come up a few inches, we want to start to feel the belly work. If we come up some more, we're going to start using the pressure of our hands down. So actually use that work to maybe lift the chest, lift the belly, even the hips, and then come back down. We'll do that a couple more times. Inhaling, the first part is just extending. We don't press with the hands yet. Exhale, press. Maybe we can lift the hips, belly, chest, all in one fell swoop. Ideally, that's what we're going for one day, someday. Inhale, first part is simply extension. And then we feel the hands, exhale. Then we might lift just the ribs and pause there and come down. Or you might come up all the way to the knees. And lowering back down. Good. And then take the hands alongside the body. You can rest your head on one side for a moment. And bring the head back to center. And let's bend one knee. Heel, toe, heel, toe. Bend that knee as much as you can, kind of getting a little length in the front of the body. We'll do this on the other side too. Heel, toe, heel, toe. And we'll go ahead. And one more time, bend. So get that knee bent. And then if you'd like to, work with the ankle here. Heel, toe, heel, toe. Keep that knee bent as much as it wants to go today. Heel, toe, heel, toe. Very nice. And we're just going to bring the hands back to support ourselves up and all the way back to seated. Good. So checking in with how you're feeling. One more activity we'll do. There's always so many more we could do with the heels and bridge poses. Maybe that's what we'll do in noon class. I haven't done that in a while. There's some great work you can do keeping those hamstrings happy. But I would love to work kind of full, since we've worked in so many areas that would help this pose into teaser, I would like to work with that. So we're going to come back behind our sit bones again, behind any tenderness in the tail. And we'll come back to this position where we were lifting the feet up, kind of getting a nice balance going, and maybe even taking both feet up. That's a lot of balance, isn't it? And a lot of belly work, and then coming forward. So that's the end pose, isn't it? That's the end of teaser. And yet there's a little more to it, right? There's coming up to it. There's coming into it this way, where we get the balance, and we could add on by taking the hands away. And we can kind of check in with our thighs. Can we keep the thighs turned off for the most part? But then there's also rolling down and coming back up. So if we were to come from here and roll down and come onto the back, can we find our way up? Lifting the head, reaching the feet out like we did earlier. Maybe the hands are at the legs, and see if we can get over that pelvic ridge to find our way up to balance. And then just as smoothly finding our way back down. Should we try it a couple more times? So we lift the head, get that upper body on, and then reaching with the feet, belly, belly, belly. Arms work a little, find our way up to balance. Decide if we'd like to take the hands away. Keep giving you options. Don't feel like you have to take them. All the way back down. And there's a little more to it if we want to get really specific, but this is really nice stuff, isn't it? Come up, maybe take the hands away, maybe bring the feet together, and roll back down. And go ahead and bring the feet down. Enjoy a nice breath in, breath out. Might soften the face a little bit. Wherever you feel there might be some kind of holding on. A lot of times that unravels if we start in our mouth, softening the jaw, letting the lower jaw be slack, but also imagining the roof of the mouth getting softer. I know it sounds kind of odd, but the roof of the mouth can hold a fair amount of tension. So when we think about a soft palate, and even a soft palate where it's harder, imagine a gooey or gummy substance there. I like to think of it as like a clay, a potter's clay, that you can smooth it out and smooth out the roof of the mouth. And then as you're ready, you can go ahead and roll to your side and slowly push yourself up to seated. And so happy to hear how that went for you and hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Glad to be here with you subbing for Megan this week and hope to see you again in another class. So
Hi, thank
Hi,
you.
thank you, Ingrid. I have a question for you, if you wouldn't mind.
sure.
If you have a minute. So
Mhm.
like I said, I'm kind of a beginner, and I'm doing I find myself struggling with the rolling part. You know, I see you guys going back so smoothly, and I sometimes like bounce on the back, and then I try to get up and I feel like my legs are like, you know. I think it's because I don't have enough strength yet in my abdomen. So I guess I'm wondering, is that a normal for a beginner, number one? And number two, should I keep trying to go all the way back, or is there something I can do halfway to strengthen those muscles so I'm not like pounding down and then like struggling to get back up again?
Absolutely. Yes. So yes, it's very common. And I heard one of our instructors say, he's like, you almost want to have a crash helmet. I thought it was hilarious. Like,
Yeah, right.
because
That's how I feel
I was like,
sometimes. Right.
I hadn't thought of that. And of course, the more I teach, I think the more sometimes the fuzzier it gets, like where I was at before, you know? And so, but for sure, and not seeing people in studio for a long time now either, that's not a little bit of a hindrance for me. So I'm glad you brought it up, but absolutely it will come. And it just is like, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. But I love having an elastic. Like
Okay.
if we didn't do the roll down today, but with your legs extended, or even a little bit of this kind of orientation, and then you're rolling back and you can really fine tune,
Right.
like, okay, where am I at here? And if I go all the way down, can I still come up? And then you've got a little help, and
Great.
you can use the back of your legs too, but the band gives you even more kind of space to do that, because sometimes people's arms aren't long enough to, I got really long arms, so I can really do almost what I can do with this, right? But
Okay.
so I really love having an elastic or therapy band or something like that to help in those in that intermediate spot where you're kind of trying to get a little more fluid with it, but it will come for sure. Yeah.
Great. I'll use the TheraBand. That makes a lot of sense. And I just didn't feel that it was right that I should be like bouncing all over the mat. You're not doing that, obviously. And so I think I need to strengthen that a little bit more and just keep working at it. So great. Thank you very much. I really
good. And and I was going to say too that, if we've had any abdominal surgeries and things like that, like all of these, you don't have to tell me, but if you've had anything like that, there are, some of these things take a little bit longer, but I've had good success with my students over time. Like even if they've had a C-section or something, it comes, or gallbladder, like anything. So just throw that out there too, that just be patient. And maybe if you really feel like you want a little more fine tuning, do a one-on-one with somebody to make sure,
I think I will.
So find somebody that, if you want to work on the machines or, I'm a little bit far away, but to do
that's a
like
great
in person.
idea.
Yeah.
I might be ready for that now. So, okay. Thank you so much, Ingrid. I really like your class. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. I really liked how you explained the swan-like movement. That was very helpful for me to have this time to breathe in and then go further with breathing out. That was very helpful.
And you said in which activity, Maxie?
Oh, one of the last ones, the swan-like one.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Good.
That was great.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah. Glad to meet you. Yeah. Glad to have you in class. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Bye.